Everyone. This is a short intro, and then we're going to get into the meaty story. And it's a meaty story. It's happening to the Conservatives. But my goodness, it bears mention. In fact, it bears talking about. So it's going to be the main part of the stories today. But this, I heard about this last night while I was out door knocking. One of my volunteers said, "Hey, did you see Jagmeet Singh just refused to answer Keenan from the Rebel?" And I said, no, like, what happened there? And so here's what happened there. And here's why I find this disturbing. We've got Justin Trudeau who wanted to ban True North Centre and the Rebel and Andrew Lawton from even being able to ask questions in the post-debate scrum. They were to be banned from the public debates, period. And they filed an injunction and won, so they're able to be at these scrums. Justin Trudeau, therefore, I don't know if he's required to answer the question, but he would be begging bad press to not answer the question. But he's making moves to silence this news outfit or these news outfits because they're not friendly. They don't like his administration, etc. Mr. Scheer has done the same with the Rebel. He's refused interviews. And I don't know if the same instances of shutting down Andrew Lawton and True North have happened on Mr. Scheer's campaign, but we've seen Mr. Menzies from the Rebel being physically removed from a place and then arrested briefly, or at least detained briefly, because he was at the Scheer campaign trying to cover it as a news outlet. And now this. So this is the NDP leader closing ranks and saying, unless you're part of the approved class of reporters, I guess you will not be able to answer or ask a question, despite the fact that you're at the scrum, despite the fact that you're in line, despite the fact that you're at the microphone. I'm not going to answer your question, man. And he seems to be acting all nice about it, like, oh no, I'm not going to answer that question. Yeah, but he's not being nice about it. This is as close to a managed press as you're going to get. And this is the NDP leader who's quite comfortable with this. Here we go.
Hi, Elizabeth May told me earlier today, and I think she spoke in the other debate recently, that she wants the Alberta oil sands offline in a decade. What's the date that you want the Alberta oil sands offline?
Sorry, what's your name?
My name's Kian. I'm with RNN.
You're with who?
RNN.
I'm going to pass on the question, my friend.
Okay, so do I get the follow-up then? Or you're just going to pass on the question for...
Yeah, I'm not going to answer it.
It's a hard one, or...
No, I'm just not going to answer your question.
So, okay,
anyone else
so
can ask
the follow-up, I guess, would be, how do you have the moral authority to take the Alberta oil sands offline, given Alberta just recently rejected your party in the largest democratic mandate that the province has ever seen?
I'm not going to answer your question, but thanks.
It's a hard one, hey?
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thanks for your question. I'm not going to answer it. He said, anyone else can ask it, and I'll... Yeah, and my friend, have you ever had somebody come up and shake your hand and call you my friend and you know they don't mean that? I've watched those interactions. I don't remember one for me, but I'm sure it's happened. And it's not a very friendly my friend, right? Didn't reach his eyes. I didn't see the smile in his cheeks, right? So that's concerning for a lot of reasons. He'll smile at you while he's telling you to off, right? Yeah. So that's Jagmeet Singh, everyone. He just wants everyone to like him, right? Except Keenan. He doesn't care about Keenan. Here's Warren Kinsella, and this is the meaty part of today's story. And it is happening to the Conservatives, but this same type of misuse of the positions of power, CBC, or positions of power being, they're the public broadcaster, right? They work for us. They literally work for us. We are paying them directly with taxpayer money in multiple ways, and they get to sell advertisements too, which is maybe a conflict of interest, right? Maybe you shouldn't get tax money and sell advertisements. Maybe you shouldn't. But here's Warren Kinsella, and he says, I'm blocked on Warren Kinsella, so the tweet is in a Google folder, and the link is underneath the tweet here. You'll have a link to this file. But Warren says, Rosemary Barton and the CBC are suing the Conservatives. Like, it's not a joke. And yeah, here's the federal court filing, and I'm going to tell you exactly why this is happening. But I want you to see this ad, and I'm not going to play the. Like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to play this ad. I don't know if it's 146. It's savage. It is absolutely savage, and this is done by the Conservatives. But link is in the description. Oh, let's go. We're going to watch it. Here we go.
The difference between running with a record now and running in 2015? Well, what I can say now is look at what we've done.
It's become the billion-dollar question. How big will the federal deficit be? The deficit could rise above $20 billion.
Today, a ruling came down that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has broken several conflict of interest rules.
The Prime Minister broke the law in 4 different places, and that's just talking about the Conflict of Interest Act.
Why are we still fighting against certain veterans groups? Because they're asking for more than we are able to give right now. The fact is, we work sorry, we're just trying to reorder the thoughts.
$12 million to install energy-efficient refrigerators for a corporation that made $800 million last year. Owned by the Westons, one of Canada's richest families, worth $13.5 billion.
My question is, why does it have to be done with taxpayer dollars? Why do we have to fork out $12 million to help Loblaws?
Gerald Butts and Katie Telford had in total received over $200,000 in moving expenses.
Liberals have apologized and paid more than $10 million to Omar Khadr, a payout which has divided Canadians right across the country.
It's the first foreign trip Trudeau will come back from with his image tarnished.
Trudeau's visit to India has been a colossal failure.
SNC-Lavalin is in the middle of a legal fight of its own.
I experienced a consistent and sustained effort to politically interfere.
The allegations are false.
This is not the first time the Prime Minister has been found to have contravened the Conflict of Interest Act.
What I can say now is, look at what we've done.
Savage, right? Absolutely savage. So, man, memes tell a story. News tells a story, right? And in Canada, this is not a political ad. This is a politics show, and this isn't my party at all. But the point is, you can use those clips. You can use that stuff because that's part of how our news works. Because we have a public broadcaster. It's publicly funded, so you can use news in clips like that. Even in my show, I use news all the time, right? Like I often, well, here's the Post Millennial. We're going to get to this story in just a minute, but that's my point. It is okay to use news like that. It is even explicitly okay to use news like that. I'm going to read this. This is the Conservative mailer that went out after this ad was pulled because they were told they had to pull that ad. Wild, right? I mean, lucky for us, it's on the internet. And man, yeah, it's savage. Savage. Okay, here's the mailer. It says, "Dear Fuddrucker," and this isn't my image. This is somebody else's image. This was posted on Reddit, but the link to the image is in the description. Okay, "Dear Fuddrucker, you won't believe this. The taxpayer-funded CBC, which is tasked with covering this election fairly and objectively, is suing the Conservative Party of Canada. We put out a video which featured a total of approximately 17 seconds of CBC footage." This is the video we just watched, right? 17 seconds in which Andrew Coyne highlights how Justin Trudeau broke the law and in which Justin Trudeau tells a Canadian war veteran that he is, quote, asking for more than we can give right now. The other day, the CBC sent us a letter asking us to take down the video. Despite our reservations, we complied. But yesterday, they served us with a legal notice anyway. The CBC, our publicly funded broadcaster, is taking us to court during an election. Here's what Elections Canada had to say on the matter. Emphasis ours. Question 35. Can a political ad contain a news clip without the approval of the broadcaster? Answer. Prior to the election period, broadcasters can decline to run a political ad on any grounds they choose, provided they treat all parties on an equal basis. However, during the election period, they are not entitled to decline an ad unless the broadcaster would be in contravention of the law. Highlighted, if a news clip is relatively short and is not a substantial part of the audiovisual work from which it was taken, the broadcast of the news clip in a political ad would not infringe the copyright of the owner of the audiovisual work and would not require the permission of that owner to be broadcast. Okay, so that's pretty clear. Like this is Election Canada rules, and the copyright laws again are such that you can use news clips and all sorts of other stuff. I use it regularly, and I made sure that I was allowed. And yeah, it's generally okay. So this is crazy. Back to the article. Fuddy. We collectively spend over $1 billion a year funding the CBC. We pay their salaries. We pay for their very existence. The CBC is owned by Canadians. It is funded with our taxes. Their footage should be usable by those who fund them. And Elections Canada clearly states we are allowed to use these clips to inform voters. But the CBC is forcing us to spend valuable time and money during an election campaign to fight them in court. Fudder, we know that the deck is stacked against us. Justin Trudeau has ensured this is the case. Thankfully, we have our secret weapon, you, the Conservative voter. or just the voter. And we need your help now, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so all of that is just wild because it's pretty clear that you're allowed to use those news clips. And it's pretty clear that that's a savage, savage, savage commercial. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. Here's the Post Millennial. They say Barton has also made recent partial comments live on air, such as how the Trudeau government's large deficits don't matter, or that the RCMP are, quote, just asking a few questions regarding the SNC Lavalin investigation, which it is an investigation. Here's the Post Millennial. And hold on a second. The Post Millennial is reporting CBC and Rosemary Barton are suing Conservative Party of Canada for copyright infringement. The CBC and the national host Rosemary Barton are suing the Conservative Party of Canada for copyright infringement over the CBC clips used on the CPC's, quote, not as advertised website attacking Liberal leader Justin Trudeau, as well as for using CBC debate clips on the CPC Twitter feed. Quote, the CBC obviously has rights as the copyright owner in its broadcast, but those rights are constrained by limitations and exceptions under the law that allow for use of its work without the need for further permission, said University of Ottawa copyright law professor Michael Geist in a blog post arguing the Conservatives had the right under fair dealing to use the CBC excerpts, much like the CBC borrows pieces of others' works in reporting. And yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there. Back to the article. The lawsuit was filed on Thursday. He argues the CPC violated the moral rights of CBC journalist John Paul Tasker and Rosemary Barton, and its use of the CBC content could confuse viewers to believe the public broadcaster is biased for the Conservatives, which goes against the public broadcaster's mandate. Yes, you couldn't possibly be biased for the Conservatives. That's against the mandate. Didn't you see the mandate? It says right there, Ironically, many Canadians have instead been accusing the CBC of being biased for the Trudeau Liberals, including the journalism of Barton herself, who has a history of showing favoritism for the Liberal leader and his government, including taking an affectionate selfie with Trudeau to share on social media, as well as asking him friendly, frivolous questions in an end-of-year interview in 2018. I remember that because Valentine's Day had the footage of them having a walk and all that stuff. It was quite funny. Okay, back to the article. Moreover, the claims over short clips over debate footage is enormously troubling, considering both the importance of broad dissemination of the debate and the fact that the debate involves little specific contribution for any individual broadcaster, continued Geist in his post assessing the lawsuit. CBC has an unfortunate history of overzealous use of copyright to stifle freedom of expression, and that approach appears to have reared its head yet again as the 2019 campaign hits the home stretch. CBC's lawsuit has had a chilling effect, with the video under question already being pulled from the CPC's YouTube channel. I scroll down. Other political parties routinely use clips from broadcasters and haven't typically been sued. Outside of this recent action, the CBC has also been called out for multiple other instances of favorable Liberal connections or actions. CBC journalist and parliamentary press gallery member Kate Simpson, for example, was questioned on why she would use a picture of a smiling Trudeau as her background on Twitter. She's since changed it. And there's the background that she was using as her Twitter background. Yeah, a little inappropriate. And back to the article. The CBC is also still collaborating with a survey company that also receives lucrative contracts from the Liberal government to create its Vote Compass, an unscientific survey that tells voters which party they are most aligned with, and in the past has been accused of favoring the Liberals. Last week, another CBC journalist wrote an incorrect analysis piece that claimed the BC carbon tax was revenue neutral, the same claim the Liberals are making about their own carbon tax, which Barton tweeted out. It took the public broadcaster 18 hours to properly correct the mistake, and neither the journalist who wrote it or Barton made note of it online after sharing the incorrect information. During the 2015 election, Trudeau promised the CBC an additional $150 million annually to its well over $1 billion it receives in government subsidies annually. During the campaign, Trudeau himself also joked about how the government would always provide preferential treatment to the CBC while passing forward poutine. And yeah, you can see a video of that, Trudeau just handing over poutine. And okay. On Thursday night, Barton questioned whether other journalists are legitimate. This after a court forced the Trudeau government-appointed Leaders Debate Commission to allow journalists who were critical of Trudeau into the event. In response to the lawsuit, the Conservative Party has sent out a mailer in which it argues it had the right to use short clips from the CBC. When the CBC leader, Andrew Scheer, ran for the Conservative leadership, he said he would scrap the CBC News division, but has since backtracked on that promise, instead saying CBC needs to refocus on Canadian stories. Mainstream journalists such as media critic and Canada Land founder Jesse Brown has said the CPC is completely within the realm of fair dealing and it's not violating copyright. And yeah, I mean, that's true. That's plainly true. I think that even if this lawsuit makes it to court, the judge will throw it out. I mean, just based on what I've read about in Elections Canada and their copyright laws, it doesn't merit the standard of even having the video taken down, right? So, quite interesting. There's the link. Share it if you want to. And thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to vote on October 21st, and have a wonderful, wonderful